Welcome to True Crime 101 with Murder Friends, 3 friends from 3 different countries who talk about murder. My name's Hannah and I'm British.
I'm Anna and I'm American.
I'm Alana and I'm Canadian.
In addition to our longer episodes, True Crime 101 talks you through key true crime cases and theories. This week, I want to tell you about the murder of Sandra Rivett. Have you heard of it?
No.
No? Okay. So it's one of those cases where the alleged murderer and the circumstances surrounding it are more well known than the woman who was brutally murdered. So chances are you have heard of this, but I want to approach it from the direction where we talk about Sandra first, because I think that's really important. Okay?
Okay.
With me?
I'm on board.
I know, I'm
Right.
here. You got me.
So Sandra was born on the 16th of September 1945 in the UK, and her family then moved to Australia when she was 2. The family returned to the UK when Sandra was 8 years old. Although Sandra was not necessarily academic, she was described at school as being intelligent and popular. She took a series of jobs, various jobs, including being an apprentice hairdresser, a secretary, a carer, and latterly a nanny. Sandra got engaged to a builder called John, and they had a son called Stephen in 1964. Sadly, their relationship broke down, and Sandra moved back home to her parents. Her parents actually later adopted her son in 1965. She moved to Portsmouth to stay with her sister and met Roger Rivett, a Royal Navy seaman. They married in June 1967. Unfortunately, they later divorced in May 1974, and by that time, Sandra was listed on the books of a domestic agency in Belgravia in London. So she begins working for Richard John Bingham and Victoria Mary Duncan as a nanny, caring for their 3 children. This is in sort of late 1974 at their family home in Belgravia. This is like a 15-minute walk from Buckingham Palace.
Oh, wow.
We're talking really, really close to that. So you kind of get a picture of the area and the kind of lifestyle that they led. Richard and Veronica had separated, and their separation was definitely not amicable. There was a bitter dispute raging on relating to the custody of their children, their 3 children. Veronica reports to a former nanny, not to Sandra, that Richard had beaten her with a cane and pushed her down some stairs. She feared for her safety. She told that nanny that it would come as no surprise that, quote, if he kills me one day. So she was, she was scared. Sandra used to go and visit her boyfriend on Thursday nights. However, on Thursday the 7th of November, as she'd seen him the night before, she decided to stay at the family home and work. She spoke with her boyfriend that night on the phone and then put the children to bed. She asks Veronica, the mother, whether she'd like a cup of tea, and Veronica says yes, of course. So she goes downstairs into the kitchen, which is located in the basement, and there she's brutally bludgeoned to death by someone wielding a lead pipe, and her body's then placed in a canvas sack. Veronica's really concerned now. She's like about the amount of time that Sandra is taking to make this cup of tea, so she goes to find her. She goes down to the stairs to the basement kitchen and calls down. Veronica is then attacked, and she screams out. She's told to shut up by her attacker, and Veronica claims that she recognises the voice being that of her husband. He grabs her by the throat and she fights him back, and she ends the fight because she grabs hold of his bollocks and squeezes really hard. So
dang.
Badass bitch.
Yeah.
So the fight kind of ends. Everyone's been sort of scrapping for a bit, and they're all like, oh, okay, fine. And it is her husband. She questions him, where is Sandra? Where is she? He's really, really evasive at first, but after she pushes and pushes, he admits that he's killed Sandra. So Veronica's absolutely terrified at this point. She's in the house with her children and with her husband, who's just admitted to murdering someone. Like, that's terrifying. So she tells him, I can help you escape. He goes, okay, fine, but I'm really nervous at the moment. I need some sedatives. And she goes upstairs to get some from the bathroom. And when she goes upstairs, she realises that he can't hear her in the house. So she makes a run for it. And she runs to the local pub and to raise the alarm. So this is the part of the case where you might recognise the people. And I wanted to approach it this way for a reason. So Richard John Bingham was also known as Lord Lucan.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's the 7th Earl of Lucan. They lived in this really lavish house in Belgravia near Buckingham Palace. When you hear about this case, you often hear about how you don't really hear anything about the nanny. You hear about Lord Lucan's disappearance. And it's been like this huge mystery in the British press since, the 1970s. So I wanted to talk about the events that happened afterwards, after the after the murder. And then I'm going to talk about some theories about where he is and what happened to him. And I'm going to end with the most absurd and ultimately my favourite theory. Richard completely disappears. They search his flat, because obviously they don't live together. They find his car, they find his passport, they find personal belongings there. His photo and his name are circulated by local police, but no one can find him. The last sightings of everything of him include a telephone call that he placed to his mother, asking her to collect the children from the home. He then borrows a Ford motor car and drives to a friend's property in East Sussex, which he later leaves. And that's the last time anyone ever sees of him. So he ultimately is declared dead in February 2016 after a really long court battle by his son. But there are a number of these theories as to sort of where he went and whether in fact he's dead.
So I've heard of Lord Lucan. You're right. This is actually a really clever way to approach it, because they never really focus on what he's done. It's all this big mystery of where's Lord
where
Lucan?
He is.
Yeah,
and it pops up in the media every now and then, because it's been like sighting of Lord Lucan in Costa Rica or Colombia or something, and then they go and investigate it because they like get a beer glass from the pub he was like seen in, and they like test the fingerprints, and it's like this huge like run around. It's like, where is Lord Lucan? But no, it does pop up quite a lot. Does it ring any bells with you, Alana? Do you know anything about it?
I think they must have talked about it on a podcast, not deeply, just like one episode to talk about him sort of thing, but I didn't know much about it at all.
So these are the theories of where Lord Lucan disappears to. So in addition to potentially killing his nanny, he does have gambling debts as well, like quite bad gambling debts. He's known as Lucky Lucan, but I don't think he's that lucky. If you look at his Wikipedia page, it actually has professional gambler as his occupation, as well as being like the 7th Earl of Lucan. So let's get into
what was his actual occupation?
Rich white man. No, I don't know. He's just
rich privileged white man.
I think he's just like a British aristocrat. He's just
comes from money.
Yeah. Just lives on money. And This was like the 70s as well. So he lived like a really, like almost like a playboy lifestyle. So like in casinos and yachts and, pictured with all these like pretty women all the time. So Detective Superintendent Roy Ranson claims that he had, quote, done the honourable thing, end quote, and killed himself. And this was echoed by numerous friends of Lucan. John Aspinall, who I'm going to mention later, before John Aspinall died in 2000, believed that he had jumped from a cross-channel ferry with a stone tied to his body. So they think that he got on a ferry to France and leapt off halfway.
Was it not suspicious when he was like walking onto the ferry, like carrying a boulder, like with a rope tied to a rope, like no red flags, no?
Well, this was the 70s. They didn't check anything, did they?
No, you're right.
It's true.
Exactly.
Yeah. Veronica, his wife, I'm still calling her Lady Lucan now because that's her name. She also agreed that he probably would have killed himself, and then she put, quote, like the nobleman he was.
Bitch, please.
Yeah.
The nobleman he was. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because there was this like bitter like custody battle between them, and how Lord Lucan often thought that the nanny wouldn't be home on Thursday night because it was dark when he attacked.
Yeah, he was trying to kill the wife.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, just divorce like normal people. Like...
It was the 70s. You couldn't just divorce in the 70s. It was a mess.
Yeah.
I think it was mainly about the children. He was claiming that she was like an unfit mother and...
Yeah, well, he really proved his fitness for parenting there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like as soon as he disappears, though, she gets like custody of the children because they were placed into being like wards of the court. And the court were just like, yeah, no, you can look after them, it's fine. Some believe that he moved abroad, either to Southern Africa, New Zealand or Greece. Others believed he was helped out of the country, but was then deemed to be too great a risk to be discovered with, and so was killed and buried in Switzerland.
That's very specific.
Very specific, isn't it? Yeah. There's also been sightings of him potential sightings of him in France, Colombia and India. And like I said before, there was a lot of people who would, go on these like wild goose chases trying to find him, but nothing ever's kind of cropped up. So it's going to come to my favourite theory. And this comes from the mother of John Aspinall. And John Aspinall owns zoos his family, like the Aspinall Trust, owns zoos in Kent. So Portland and Howletts.
Yeah, been to
potentially the site of a terrible thing. So the mother of John Aspinall says, this is a quote, "The last I heard of him, he was being fed to the tigers at my son's zoo."
Oh, damn.
So Philip Mark, a stockbroker and, someone who knew him, he also believed this theory. And he said that he believed that Lucan shot himself and then was fed to a tiger called Zora. This actually led to a massive search of the zoo and the country home on the zoo, like property, all of the animal cages. They really searched everything. But John Aspinall, who was alive at the time, later said, this is a great quote, "My tigers are only fed the choice cuts. Do you really think they're going to eat stringy old Lucky?" Close quote. So that is the story of Lord Lucan, the missing aristocrat who allegedly murdered the nanny. All of my information came from Wikipedia, The Telegraph, The Times and The Guardian. But if you head over to murderfriends.com, I will post a full list of all my sources together with links so you can check those out too.
Wow.
That's good.
I guess the one thing is, if there is no body and there's no, identified body and he is dead, he would have to be out of country, I guess, for him to go unnoticed, his body to go unnoticed, you know what I mean? If his body was found in the UK, I would have thought that people would test or something, or maybe it's too old, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't be alive now, and he'd be pretty old now at this stage, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was born in 1934, maybe?
Yeah, so he'd be 83 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, the chances that he would be alive now are very, very low.
I don't know. See, you feel like the stuff where he just committed suicide, I just feel like, he would have done it and then somebody would have found him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. How do you obscure the body?
Yeah, well, also because you think someone like that.
He had a lot of wealthy friends and
True.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I like to think he was fed to the tigers. I think that is my favorite theory.
It's the way I want to go.
I'm gonna go with it too. I'm gonna go, or I can just literally picture him on the ferry to Calais with just a rock. He's holding it like that, and the
in
the
line.
Are
string.
you checking any luggage, sir? Yes, just my
dee.
giant rock and this piece of rope.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm bringing. But again, wouldn't people have seen him? But where did that thing? It's really funny to find out where these theories came from. How did that start as a thing? On the one where he's buried in Switzerland. Well, how so
where did that
specific.
come from? Yeah.
Yeah, how did that even start?
Definitely. I think his wife took it very poorly. I think she was really good friends. They had the nanny and his wife had a really close relationship. They used to share clothes and they had a really close kind of living arrangement as well. So I can't imagine what that would have been like if you go and find out where the nanny is and find that your husband's allegedly bludgeoned her to death, thinking it was you.
Yeah,
oh my God.
That messes you up.
Ooh, that's next level.
Yeah.
But
Unless she kills him and buries the body.
Yeah.
She just chokes
What
him
if
out.
she actually did it? Yeah.
Lady Lucan died in 2017 of a suspected overdose. She was in the news actually before she died because she cut her children out of her will.
Oh.
Why?
For a reason, which was they had lack of good manners.
Oh my goodness.
So she just completely cuts them out. And she actually left all of her fortune to Shelter, the homeless charity in the UK.
Oh yeah, Shelter. Yeah, it's the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
Wow.
that's a.
I mean, good for her, I guess.
Yeah.
But if I was her kid, oh my God.
You'd be so
be
pissed,
pissed.
wouldn't you? He was okay, great, Mum, thanks. So yeah, that is the story of Lord Lucan,
Thank you.
wherever he may be.
If you're listening, we'd love to talk to you.
You can call us.
Yeah, hit us up. In fact, you can email us at email us at murderfriendspod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Murder Friends Pod on Instagram and Murder Friends PD on Twitter. And also check out our website, murderfriends.com.
Bye.